Alright, hello, my name is Megan. I'm making this video because I think God wanted me to make this video. Currently, I'm sitting in this cottage that was only made possible through a miracle. And tomorrow, I'm 2 months in, and tomorrow rent is due, and I have $40. And so I came on here to share my testimony, to share the glorious things God has done, because he will do it again, and to watch God move. So anyways, I wanted to share a testimony of just everything he's done for me, because it's quite amazing. I'm doing this all in one take, so if there are a few moments go off or whatever, I mean, it is what it is, right? I used to have a YouTube channel, but had to take it down. Why? Because I have a little something called dissociative identity disorder, and at the time I had so many personalities of switching all over the place, and so had to take it down, and only made a few videos, but now I'm put together and there's only 4 of us left. But I mean, we're on the up and up and towards integration, all that kind of thing, right? So I'll be brief on this one. I'd love to make another one later on. But so I grew up in Georgia, grew up in a very religious household, but also we were involved in church, but also connected to what I call the network. Went through something called SRA, satanic ritual abuse, was involved in networks doing things like that, trafficking and the like. Lots of really bad things. So lots of bad things happened to me growing up, and I was a part of a lot of very bad things as well. Lots of trauma, things of that nature. And so because of that, growing up, there were so many things that I experienced that could not be explained. So much, not just mental torment, but demonic torment. Because when you open those doors, obviously you're gonna experience those things, or when you grow up in that world, you're gonna experience those things. And so you experience life very chaotically, and that's when I started developing DID. And living in a fragmented way like that means you don't have any cohesion in your life experience. Even to this day, it's very hard for me to recollect a lot of my life, although through a lot of work and linear processing, I've been able to do that. But long story short, there was always, like, growing up, I wanted to experience the things that the people around me experienced, the Christians around me. I was in a Southern culture and wanted God and clung to God, but was also in darkness at the same time. So it's very confusing. And as I got older, because of my own abuse growing up, I found, I learned how to disassociate, was very good at it, and would go out into the nature, and nature was kind of like my happy place. Grew up on a farm, so it was just perfect. I'd go out there and just hang out with the trees and connect with them and with their energy. And, was always trying to fit into the Southern culture all around me. And so finally, as I got older, I started experimenting with boys and fantasy, and I would take them out into the woods, and I just would, I saw myself as like this opportunity. Like, I became the ultimate escapist, and I loved to bring guys along on the path with me. And so I got older, and then I started hooking up with guys. And, when I turned 18, like I said, I had about half of me that wants to really serve God. Like I said, I'm a fragmented soul, right? And so half of me wants to follow God. The other half of me is starting to party hardy. I don't care. And finally, I went to Haiti and saw a dying girl there my age, like just gaunt, and the witch doctors had done all kinds of stuff to her. And I was like, you know what? Screw you. I was like, screw you, God. I'm done with you. And that's when I renounced God, right there in Haiti, which was a very dumb decision, because there's a lot of darkness in Haiti. So that kind of sealed the deal, right? I come back, and I went through multiple traumas in my life. I went through, which like I said, I don't feel comfortable sharing it all quite yet. I'm going to make this a condensed version, but a whole lot of things, because growing up in that trauma, growing up, you'll have PTSD and you'll relive these things. And so I started getting into very dangerous situations in my 20s. I'm in college. I started doing a whole bunch of psychedelics, blowing my brains up, once again, I know how to disassociate well. And so, you feel quite comfortable going on multiple drug trips and, started connecting in with Burning Man crowd and stuff like that. And at this point, I was all over the place, and I mean chaotic, like not able to started. I couldn't keep a place, and just everything was chaotic. And eventually got so dark that I decided to formally initiate into the left-hand path. And I went to a mini burn and went and did that there. Came back, and a teacher was sent to me, a black magic teacher. And I had a goal at that point. I went through so much trauma during college that I decided I wanted to initiate into the left-hand path and learn how to move into alternate dimensions, move into different places. It was like a formal dedication to being a psychonaut. This guy was all about Tantra, weaving yourself into the universe, and that's the path I took. I wanted to be a Tantrika. And at first it was just a spiritual path, and I actually was given the option and then went up to Asheville, North Carolina for a while and worked on top of a mountain. And things got so weird and crazy. Like I said, reality started bending. It's kind of like it was pushing me into the path, right? And so, it was my decision, but you know what I mean? That's the way it felt. So anyways, I came back and I didn't have any options of what to do. And like I said, so I went back up to Asheville and I found a tantric parlor where they did just the sensual massage and stuff, and initiated into that. And while I was there initiating into it, like literally the first day on the job, I had an ectopic pregnancy, and my fallopian tube burst inside me because I'd fooled around with my ex. And I remember that was the straw that kind of, like, that's what caused my heart to harden. Because there was all the stuff that I went through in college, and then there was this. And I was still dealing with mind control and mind games from my family. And I was actively trying to get rid of them. And get rid of them, I mean, like they're very abusive and like in my head and stuff. And I was trying to get away from them and stuff. I was like, in that place. So, but anyway, so I'm there, and it's kind of like then and there I went, I think I'm ready to fully go with this. And so I stayed there for a few months and worked and learned the ropes of sensual massage and like using it as a tool to, get people out of their bodies and stuff like that. And then I called the black magic teacher guy, the guy who said he could help me. And I said, I'm ready. He said, okay, I want you to sell everything and go into the desert. So I did. And the desert was calling. By that time, I was like really immersed in nature worship as well. So anyways, I went through that and wandered around and ended up at Burning Man, wandered, like I said, this is a whole nother story too. In the desert, I definitely initiated into what one could call maddening enlightenment. The idea that everything is one and everything, and that's when I was doing a bunch of DMT, and I used to make a video about that too, but DMT and understanding that, like, okay, the trees are the code of God, and that's how I saw it. There was just all this mystery, and I couldn't handle it, and it was so scary. It was so nihilistic. It was like, wow, if everything is one and I am one, what, I was losing it, and starting to lose my mind, and working in and out of hotel rooms in California at that point. And then I ended up with a harem of ladies, whatever you want to call it, up in the Bay. And anyways, it got darker and darker, and that's when reality, it blurred on me. I had no control of myself. I was falling in and out of different realities, right? And that's what brings me just thinking about that show Rick and Morty, which is a cultural phenomenon, and I'm so glad it exists because it does consider the idea of multiverses and parallel dimensions, and that is absolutely true. We live in a quantum field with parallel dimensions and realities and everything. And I kind of look at that, and that's an example of, like, he's in the show and he's bringing Morty along, and they're hopping around to these different universes, and it makes it look so easy. But here's what's so interesting, right? is that when I became a Christian, and I became a Christian maybe 4 years after this process, 3-4 years after this process, I learned that God owns all the secrets of the universe, and He owns all the realities. And it talks in the Bible at length about God. When we give our lives to Jesus Christ, we're allowing Him to take us where He wants to take us, and He will actually open up doors to other realities for us to follow Him into. But we cannot go into them ourselves. We cannot use rituals or witchcraft or anything of that nature. That's why, it's beautiful to know these things, but there is no hidden knowledge of hopping and skirting about to whatever parallel dimension you want to be in. Now you can do that. You can go and hop around and stuff like that, but you're going to incur destruction, death, delusion. Sometimes I wonder if, and like I said, things I'm talking about are rather mysterious. But like sometimes I even wonder if the devil, like when he makes a deal with someone, he's opening up an alternate dimension of fame and fortune for them, that ought not be. I call it the realities that ought not be. I think in the Bible it even talks about like, when the beast comes, the ultimate damnable beast, right? The abomination, he never was, or I don't know. I'm getting off on a thing. And I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm sharing my experience. I know this stuff is really out there, but anyways, I'm saying that I've learned, since going through what I went through, that God does indeed own all the mysteries of the universe, and that we do exist in parallel realities, but, that I already grew up, I don't know, with my body here, but my soul somewhere else, or my soul disassociated and under so much torment. And it just seems so natural to want to be an adult and to do my own thing, to create my own reality. And that also goes back to Adam and Eve, right? What Eve said, or what is it? The serpent told Eve, you shall be like gods, and knowing good from evil. But so none of us can know which way to go. And so, like I said, I'm making this video, and this is what came up to me today. It's just that God has given me this understanding of things, and He's given an understanding to a lot of people, because it says in Ecclesiastes that He's put eternity in the hearts of man, but no one can figure out what God did from beginning to end, right? But anyways, so if you're just a psychonaut on that journey, and you might have found yourself in a tormented place and you don't think anyone can understand, if you call out to Jesus, He can bring you back into the will of what was supposed to be. And that's what brings me into this next part of the journey. But long story short, that's why I'm saying it's a long story short, because it was a whole heck of a lot of torment and madness. I ended up in Austin, Texas. I ended up there for 3.5 years and became deeply devoted to the worship of the goddess. The guy who I worked with, my black magic teacher, I eventually was like, I don't think this is serving me anymore to be with you. And he cursed me. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Well, it was something. It was something. Being cursed is not a fun thing. So mentally I was shot. And it's there where I also connected in with other people who were playing the field and trying to figure out how to bend reality and do things like that. And that got me into a whole heap of problems, because these are unsafe people. Like I said, I'm out there in kind of like the ethers doing things. I just was trying to figure it out as I go, and I'm getting into more and more darkness, right? And finally, I was so thin and crazy. I got to the end of myself, maybe about 3.5 years in, 4 years in. At this point, I figured out how to make money, and was doing full service, high dollar prostitution at this point. Because I was like, it's a good way to make, I guess I accomplished my goal and had no morality. I was so out of my body that I saw it as a way that I could continue learning more about the goddess and all these things. And that's why I got my dedication tattoo, and I did a lot of San Pedro. I don't know, there's a lot there. But anyway, I got exhausted, and there were some witches up in Portland that they wanted to do a ritual. And so I went up there, and it was there in Portland. Before I left for Portland, I actually talked to a guy on the about getting insurance, and he's the one that asked me if I knew Jesus as my personal Lord and Savior. And I was like, oh, I grew up with that, I grew up with that. It's not a big deal, this and that. I don't know, but he planted a seed in my head. I was going, this is a stream of wisdom too. And then I go up to I go up and do these rituals with these ladies, and it got I didn't know how it got worse, but like they were in some serious darkness, like darkness that I just living with them, I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember being at their little ball, and they're doing all these, they're manifesting demons, for goodness sakes. And I'm there, and I'm like, I don't think this is the right way. I don't think this is the right path. And I went to Forest Park in Portland, Oregon the next day after the thing, and was like, I need help. I don't know what to do. Whatever's up there and whatever's true, please show me who you are. And that's when the voice said, "You're bride of Christ, go home." And at the time, I didn't understand it. I knew it meant, like bride of Christ, like I kind of saw it from an ascended master point of view. I didn't know it was the real Jesus Christ, like, and that he is the way, the truth, and the life. And I knew go home and go back to Georgia, which I did not want to go back home to Georgia, but I did. And that's when things got rough, and I had to go through an exorcism, and I had to go through deliverance. And because of the doors I'd opened, that's where the 7-year journey began. That's what I'm saying. That was just to get me to the 7-year journey. And then that led me, I stayed in Georgia for 2 years. And when I say standing firm, I mean, like, I didn't even know what I'd gotten into, right? So I had to fight all, like, with the Lord. I had to learn what the truth was. And the truth, like, let me tell you, I'd gone so far down the rabbit hole, that I had to read the scriptures constantly to get it in my head. It was not just, oh my gosh, he died for me. It's like I had to press into the scriptures. And the only way that I did was as I came home and I got hit by all those demons, and they started yanking me out of my body into infinite void nothingness, the very thing that I've been trying to avoid since childhood. They were, it was so supernatural. And I went, oh my gosh, I really made a deal with the devil there. I really messed up. And at this point, I wasn't really aware that all of this started at my childhood trauma. And anyways, I followed God through Georgia, and moving there and getting out was no small potatoes, because I had to face my family, which is still demonically involved. And I several times ended up with nothing. God supernaturally, he got me a car, he got me a job, I got an apartment there with no credit check and like for nothing a month, I don't know. And I'm just saying, he sustained me. And then he told me to move to Denver, and then I went to Denver for 3 years, and that's where I started on my DID journey. And other things, like, same thing, he's always provided for me. And I moved to Denver with like $1,000 in the winter, and the timing was probably wrong, but he sustained me. He even had church that, I don't even know how this stuff happened. Right? It's just so bewildering to me, all the amazing things that he did. That's what brings me up to now. Not only did he save me from all that, and like now I'm all put back together, and I know this is a crazy story, but anyways, just since I came here, I've been in Texas again for the past year and a half or so. I'm not in Austin, but I'm in Central Texas or whatever. And anyways, it's like, there's so much that's happened, but in the past month, and like basically in the past 2 months alone, I'll say this cottage right here, okay, my credit was shot, and then God supernaturally, he fixed, well, no, it wasn't supernatural. It had been 7 years since I had something on my record, but he made sure that was off my record. The way I got in here, it was 2 months ago, and I didn't have enough for a security deposit. I bought a $10 desk, and in it was a gold chain. Went to the melters, and they gave me $510 for it, which put me over the edge for the security deposit to move in here. It was 2 months ago. And then this month, God has led me to a church that is solid and biblical, but also open to all of these things. Oh my gosh, I just realized my heater's been on this whole time, so there's probably like some kind of whirring in the background. But anyways, it's okay. I'm almost done. If you made it this far, that's awesome. Anyways, he's led me to that. He led me to this cottage through the whole 7-year process, even though my story, I feel like I was such a wicked, bad person. I've done so many things. I've done so many things wrong. And God, in his mercy, has saved me, even in all the things that I did, and brought me on the other side. And it's incredible. And I guess I'm just saying that, like, I did this testimony video because God wanted me to share this testimony video. And because I'm sitting here waiting for a miracle. And I'm making this video before the miracle happened. And I'm coming on here because I have so much to share from the journey and so much about the miraculous and the goodness of God and everything that he's done. And just the fact that he's gotten me out. He's the only one that got me back in my body. He's the only one that got me back from all the different places in the multiverse. Like when you do those rituals, you're sending little soul fragments out into the ethers, and you're signing up for things that you don't really have the ability to understand about, because we live in a fallen world. And you have to have the knowledge and wisdom of God to go into those territories. And only through the leading and authority of Christ can you go there. You can't just open up dimensions and do what you will. And that's actually why a lot of the charismatic churches sucks, because they're trying to open up to these spiritual things. And there is a lot of spiritual wisdom that God wants us to know, right? But you can't go there on your own authority. You got to go there with Christ, and you got to let him open up the doors for you. And you have to let him move through you, and you have to have faith in him and him alone, and how he's going to work, and how he's going to cross every possibility and span in time, space to make things possible for you. So I think that's what I learned. I learned that God is a supernatural God, and this journey is quite amazing. And I mean, it even, like, sometimes when I'm worshiping and saying things, I mean, I just get all this wisdom about this stuff and the quantum realities, and it's really true, but it can all be in alignment with scripture. And so I guess this video is truly, if you found yourself in a tormenting space, if you grew up and you have a torment you cannot explain, or if you feel like your soul is lost out there and you just can't get it back, and there's just these overwhelming feelings in you that something is wrong, Jesus Christ is the only one who can bring you back into your body. Jesus Christ, if you believe what it says in the Bible, that he died, buried, resurrected on the third day, he did it for our sins. He was the sacrifice, the perfect sacrifice. He's the one from all order. Like it says, God is a God of order, and he sent Christ to reconcile us all back. It's because of Christ I have my soul back in my body, and I'm almost completely put together. It's because of Christ that if you've gone through any trauma or opened up those doors, that you can be reconciled back into your body. And if you have this bent towards understanding the realities, or understanding the things of the spiritual realm, God gave that gift for a purpose and for a reason, and for being able to share that with other people. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing, and I'm on the journey trying to figure it out too. But I tell you, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to I used to think that coming to Christianity means I'm going to have to let go of this incredible adventure that I was on before, but I'm still on this incredible adventure now. So anyways, that's what this video is all about. And, I would have to say, if you feel called to help or anything like that, I will pray, and whatever info I put down below, that's how you can donate, since I might as well ask, since I am at the 31st, if you feel compelled. If not, I mean, I hope you got something out of this video. Anyways, I hope to make more in the future. I like the one and done ones without much editing. I hope you have a good day, and thanks for watching this if you've gotten this far.